The County of Marin is dealing with the economic downturn as a new reality rather than a one-time event. The county has felt the financial impact in a variety of ways. County Administrator Matthew Heimel explains what's driving the county's budget crisis.
Our revenue is substantially less than what we were receiving before, and the biggest part of that is the slowdown in property tax growth. So prior to the economic downturn, we were seeing about 6 to 8% property tax growth. Next year, we're projecting negative 2% property tax growth. So we need to reduce our spending accordingly. In addition, because of the stock market losses, our pension costs and our contributions to pensions are higher. And then lastly, the state budget is certainly impacting us. We receive 30% of our funding from the state. As the state cuts our funding, we need to conversely make reductions here.
And to help make informed decisions, the county has been working on a long-term restructuring plan.
In the long-term restructuring, we look at, if you want to categorize it, two things. One are, where are there hard savings dollars that we can count on in our budget? The other one is, where are there productivity or efficiency savings that we can count on to adapt to having less resources? And so some of the things we point to are, if our residents can do business over the internet and it's less staff intensive, those are things that we need to make investments in over the coming years to help adapt to having fewer resources going forward. And so that's one of our emerging issues going forward, is how do we bring online on the internet some of those routine processes. You know, can we do permits over the internet? Can we do some of these clerk functions over the internet? In addition, we have to have a flatter organization, and we need to look at ways in which we can flatten our organization and push down responsibility to the line staff so that we don't have many layers that we're funding going forward. And so those are two examples of becoming more efficient as a way of adapting to having fewer resources.
How is the county responding to what is projected to be a $20 million shortfall in its 2010-2011 budget?
So our first priority is come up with county-wide savings because that will help us not have to reduce direct services. And so we have come up with approximately $5.8 million of that $20 million is for countywide savings. We've also done a voluntary separation program where we did that in December, and we eliminated 25 positions through the voluntary separation programs, and that had an ongoing savings of roughly $3 million. So that helps to solve some of our problem as well. Next, we'll be going to the board in March with recommendations on revenue offsets, and so that includes some fee increases, but it also includes taking folks that are working on from the general fund, moving them to a special fund. That's about $3 million, and then we're eliminating expenses of about $5 million and another 29 vacant positions. And so that will have, those actions by the board would have solved about $12 million of the gap, and we'd have about $8 million that we still need to work towards. We are recommending reductions, about $2.5 million worth of reductions that could potentially involve layoffs. There are 28 filled positions, and so what we would be doing is going to the board in March and apprising them of these recommendations. If the board is comfortable with us pursuing that, we would then offer another round of voluntary separation to try to avoid potential layoffs, and then we'll come back to the board with an update on that in May.
Marin County is actually in its third year of budget reductions.
When you combine what we are recommending this coming year with what we've done the previous 2 years, we would have eliminated 170 positions. Mostly those are vacant. There are some potential layoffs that are going to be looked at this coming summer. We have reduced about $2.5 million in contract services, and we've done so in general is changing the expectations around the service delivery as well as looking for opportunities to do business differently. We're not going forward with the idea that 2 to 3 years from now things will suddenly pick up and all those things will, the stock market will double and our housing will go up to the point where we're back at 8% growth in property tax. We're not planning on that. We don't think that's very likely. And so we need to be more adaptive as an organization and make reductions and changes in the way we do business to coincide with what we see as the new reality going forward.
CEO and I are here to talk about our efforts to engage employees and the public as part of our budget process. This really builds on our efforts over the past year and is a very important part of the next several months. The Board of Supervisors will hold budget hearings at the end of March, where they will consider initial reductions for next year's budget. Before the hearings, we're holding a series of employee and community forums to provide information on our budget situation and get input into our recommendations. On March 23rd, from 6:30 to 8:30, we're holding a community budget forum in the board chambers. This is open to anybody in the public who wants to come by and hear more about our budget challenges and provide their input to help us adapt to our new reality. We'll be sharing information, but really hearing from the community during this forum. The forum will also be webcast live on our county website and provide opportunities for online suggestions and comments.
In addition to the community forum, March 23rd, we'll be holding a community partners workshop March 18th. The purpose of the workshop is to engage our community voices for groups and organizations that already have a relationship to the county. All of our community voices are important. We're hoping to engage our community leaders in a discussion around what's important to each of our communities so that we can be more thoughtful in the development of our budget decisions. We're asking our community partners to help us adapt to these changing economic times. Additional engagement activities will continue to occur throughout the spring, prior to the final development of the budget. Throughout this process, we are hoping that we will be able to work in partnership so that thoughtful decisions can be made in a deliberate and sustainable way.
Here are some resources for you to learn more about the budget, to participate in presentation and forums, ask questions, and to share your suggestions regarding the County of Marin's budget.